Hi, this is Chase Randolph again, and I figured as a science fiction author, perhaps I should talk about some of the other books that aren't my own. So, I'm gonna take a couple of quick minutes here and talk to you about one of the classics, A Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. I've got some boring footage from the game Subnautica in the background, which is an excellent, ironic representation of a stranger in a strange land. Well, I'll try not to give too many spoilers for this. I'll talk about concepts and feelings more than content, because I encourage anyone and everyone to read this book for themselves. Heinlein is one of the greatest science fiction authors, in my opinion, and deserving of your time. Perhaps support a local bookstore and pick up a used paperback that's older than I am and has a story to tell, more of a story than just the words on its pages. In my opinion, this book starts slow, but it's a growing and fulfilling spiritual story full of philosophical and ethics and political intrigue. This personally set me on a months long path to the discovery of my own personal spiritualism as I attempted to grok in fullness. This word, grok, has been one of the most life changing additions to my vocabulary. Oh, here we go. Game finished loading finally. It's been a long time since I've played Subnautica. Where am I? Anyway. Grok has been one of the most life-changing additions to my vocabulary in my adult life. It is such a broad and malleable definition to understand, to comprehend, to meditate, to create, to become one with whatever you are trying to understand, whether it is an inanimate object, a friend, a lover, anything and everything. The definition I found online is to understand profoundly through intuition or empathy. The book has a definition. Yeah, sorry, my mouth is getting confused there. The book has a definition stating grok means to understand so thoroughly that the observer becomes part of the observed. The word is used throughout. See, I can't talk. The word is used throughout the duration of the book, and through the context of the book, one gains a gut feeling of the word. One learns how to use it, understand what it means. But the idea is so powerful and slippery that it escapes easy definition with specific words. The main character in the book, Valentine Michael Smith, the man from Mars, primarily speaks Martian, not English, and like many other Martian words that come up over the course of the book, they deal with deep and soulful, all-encompassing subjects that don't have direct English translations. This leaves the clouded, unclear, but powerful definition in the reader's gut, in the reader's mind of what grok is, how to do it, and so on. This unclearness and powerfulness, as illustrated by the events in the latter third of the book, is what sent me on my personal spiritual trip of consideration and discovery, maybe? I feel like discovery is too cliche and narrow of a word, but I can't readily think of a better one either, as I work to grok. I work to grok, and to grok all the things that grok, to use the book's definition of the word. A quick aside here on my personal discovery. I have never been a man of any faith. And the way grok defines life, anything that groks is conscious. It can make decisions. And that got me thinking, and I indirectly came to the conclusion that, or not the conclusion, but the revelation, that consciousness is not a defined thing. Science has measured and defined and understands, has grokked everything else, but consciousness has not been grokked. Consciousness is so... Oh, radiation, what's going on here? How did I build this here if there's radiation? What's going on? I'm just gonna leave so there isn't more radiation. Anyway, consciousness is... It cannot be measured. It cannot be defined. And yet, when you see it, you know what it is. Everyone knows what consciousness is. But in mathematical, scientific terms, it cannot be defined. It is some slippery thing. You can't point to a specific part of the brain and say, this is the consciousness. And on top of that, consciousness is not necessarily required for life. I mean, I would argue that lots of animals, cats, dogs, horses, ferrets, dolphins, octopi, they all have a consciousness. They're all capable of thinking and deciding. They grok. They are grokking animals. Not just humans. But, we have things like algae and trees and mollusks that they don't have consciousness. It's not required for life. And instead we have all of this weight on our shoulders from the possession of a consciousness and all this thinking and existential dread that does nothing but burn extra calories, raise our blood pressure, shorten our lifespans, and, in those regards is counterintuitive to life. Or counterproductive, I guess I should say. Okay, that ladder worked funny. I'm just instantly up here. I didn't actually have to climb the ladder. Whatever. Anyway, I'm saying consciousness is not required for life. Therefore, why does it exist? How did consciousness... Oh, there's the radiation again. Great. How did consciousness evolve if not required for life? And that's when the idea, well, maybe it was created and has sent me on my own spiritual journey because my consciousness has contemplated, what is this thing? I know what those are, and I'm going to get out of here. It's my little knife. Like, you can fight them, but they're hard to kill. And, oh, I forgot about these things, too. Wait, I have the gun. Shoot it. I missed. Ow. Anyway, I used my consciousness to contemplate consciousness. Oh, look, another one. Gotcha. Anyways, that's a whole tangent. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be talking about the book and not my own... Ooh, air. I needed that. I'm supposed to be talking about the book and not my own... Another one! Get away! Ow. And now I'm down to half health. Alright, I'm going to grab some more air bubbles, and we'll get out of here. Use this health pack. Sorry, I'm getting distracted from my distraction, which is already a distraction. The book. I'm supposed to be talking about The Stranger in a Strange Land. It is science fiction. The technology in this science fiction is an odd mismatch, as the writer's predictions were both overly optimistic and fell short of what we have achieved. Computers, communication, and media in the book being different and less complex, less prevalent than we currently have in the real world, but other more tangible technologies such as spacecraft, propulsion, flying cars, weapons, bounce tubes, which are kind of like, bounce tubes are kind of like pneumatic elevators, like in Futurama, if you've seen that show. Anyway, all these other tangible things is more powerful, more advanced than what we have. The world Heinlein created in Stranger in a Strange Land has a powerful and more advanced infrastructure than we currently have, which I pose as a good thing, but also has less advanced and less colorful social media and an entertainment industry, which I also pose could be a good thing. But, my opinions aside, the difference between where technology is and where science fiction writers predicted it to go as they composed their great works some 40 to 70 years ago, has always been one of the most interesting topics of discourse when discussing science fiction, or at least interesting to me personally. That's part of why I love older books, old sci-fi, 50s, 60s, 70s sci-fi, when they're talking about the distant future of 2010. And, we can laugh at, oh, you poor optimistic fools. Oh, these guys are still out here. I don't want to waste the shots on my gun. I'm going to go around them. This guy, however, I do need, so I can filter water. I don't have room to grab it. What can I get rid of here? I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to drop it. Now, where'd this fish go? There he is. He's way over there. Of course, there... Ah! No, get away. Get away! Fine, I will use the gun. Both of you. Get out of here. And I'm out of air. Oh well, I'll see if I can get to the pipe. Alright. Now that I have air again. Where was I? So this difference between where they predicted technology to go and where it has actually gone is one of my favorite subjects, for discussion and contemplation. Anyway, back to the book. It was certainly written at a different time, and with a different culture, different expectations between men and women, the way women were thought of, appreciated, and the roles that they were expected to fill. Some aspects of the book felt more like fantasy, like a power trip of some 14-year-old boy, and that these concepts are just normal and accepted when the book was written, and no one paid any thought to it. But now, I got a text. Make sure you turn the vibrate off on my phone. What's the word? Misogyny. There we go. Such misogyny would not be accepted. Even if it could be found and published to the public, the readers wouldn't accept it. If you tried to print this book now, if you tried to write it now, the disparity between the status, the action, the expectations, the expected actions of the male and female characters would be unacceptable. I want to say that's just a sign of the times from when the book was written, which I took the liberty of looking up. The book Stranger in a Strange Land was written in 1961, according to Wikipedia. I come from a small town of about 3,000 people, 2 stoplights and a general store. It's rather old-fashioned and conservative there. It has more churches than there are street corners, and is very politically incorrect by the modern definition. And having grown up in that background, I'm used to hearing callous and incorrect things. And even I had to stop and cringe a few times during Stranger in a Strange Land. It was much more... it was too much, even for me and my acclimated senses. Don't get me wrong, I am in no way saying that kind of political incorrectness is okay, or that I partake in it. Merely that I come from an area where it is rampant, and I am used to hearing such things. That's the biggest flaw this book has. The decade it was written in is its flaw. That is the part that has not aged well with the times. The technology is fine. The way the predicted technology is, there's nothing wrong there. I don't want to go in there. I got other plans. That aside, it's not a bad book, but perhaps this prevents me from calling it a good book. It's certainly colorful, I'll put it that way. Even so, it's one of the most personally influential books I've ever read, especially, that I've read in a long time. And I think anyone should read it. You feel me? Do you grok it? In short, if you can work your way past the writer's outdated methodology, if you can work your way past the writer's outdated thinking in regards to the genders of humanity and the roles those genders should take, then it can be a powerful story full of ethical, political, and philosophical, quasi-religious ideas. And the entire book could be considered as little more than an expanded definition for the word grok. If you're looking for something that will inspire you to become a better person, a deep thinker, a more serious contemplator of classic art and literature, more spiritual and more at peace with oneself and the world, I personally felt zen-like for days after finishing the book, as the main character's relaxed, laid-back, unhurried, waiting Phil's approach to life rubbed off on my subconscious. If any of that sounds good, then I suggest this is a good book for you. You know, that's what happened to me, and it will certainly be a different experience for you because you are a different person, and I'm just here to share my experience. But on the whole, I think it was an excellent experience. There's so much to learn from it. So much could be taken away. If nothing else, it is a story packed with drama and political maneuvering, if you don't pull any real-world concepts away from it. If you're not attempting to grok it, it's still a good story and full of intrigue. I don't have room for these things. What can I drop here? There's some storage lockers over there under that drop pod. I'll go see if any of them have room left. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've played Subnautica, so I gotta reorient myself to what I've built here. Oh, there's another of those guys. Let's not go that way. Avoid the mean fish. Anyway, those are my thoughts on The Stranger in a Strange Land. I've read it twice now. You know, I first read it. There's a little bit of room in here. I'll throw that in there, get it out of the way. I first read it a couple months ago, and I read it again before writing this. And it didn't give me new things to think about, but it made me realize I had not completed thinking about the ideas it had given me the first time I read it. So, I'm not going to tell you it makes you think, but it made me think. And, as I said, it has been one of the most personally, it has sparked the most personal development and introspection than any other book that I've read, or at least any other book that I've read in a long time, that I can remember reading. And I posit that is a good thing for anyone. And perhaps, even if you don't get this same kind of revolutionary contemplation inspired by it like I did, it is still, as I was saying, it's still a good story, full of intrigue and maneuvering and strangeness. And I encourage anyone and everyone to read it. Anyway, I don't want to accidentally repeat something I already said, so I'm gonna cut it off there and take this bit of this kelp plant thing back to a fabricator so I can make some lubricant so that I can make a sea glide, a water scooter, whatever you want to call it. Grab some more air because it's a way to swim. I thank you for your time and listening to the opening act of my book review series that I'm planning. And hopefully, I already have other books that I'm reading, more Heinlein to start with, just because of the way my bookshelves are organized. So, I'm going to do Starship Troopers and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress in the near future. And we'll see what I feel like reading after that. My book, The Descendant, I'm going to leave a link for that down in the description. And if you could, pick up a copy and leave a review on Amazon, that would be fantastic. And if you've already got a copy, then feel free to leave a like or a comment here. If you have or haven't read Stranger in a Strange Land or any Heinlein, then drop a comment. Let's have a discussion. All right, I've got my lubricant. Oops, wrong button. I gotta get a battery out of this cabinet. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'll see you guys in the future. Party hardy.